What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? This should be the Tuesday episode, so happy Valentine's Day to y'all out there who celebrate such things. I do. So, so if you're not sure, you better celebrate it. I'm just putting it out there. But definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. We appreciate your listenerage. Did I say that before? Patronage? Because they're not patrons, they're not paying.
I'm paying, man.
So appreciate y'all listening to the podcast or watching it if you're on YouTube, Spotify, or LinkedIn. And then definitely listening to Monday's episode where we talk about the I almost said LinkedIn breach. It's the Reddit breach that has not happened. So I'm not gonna put that out into the world. So we talk about the Reddit breach, and then Wednesday we're going to have a discussion involving cyber attacks between Russia and Ukraine. So definitely tune in for that. And then Friday we talk about everything else, so non-cyber related. Without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This article comes from cybernews.com. The title is 2 California cities hit with ransomware in 2 days. Police forced to patrol using handheld radios. And this was written by Stephanie Schappert. So this is kind of similar to one we did. I believe it was in New York State. I don't think it was. I can't remember. New York City. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it was in New York State. It was kind of the same thing, right? So 2 city governments. And here's the thing: it was Oakland and Modesto. And I don't know too much about Modesto, but I know Oakland is a very big city in California. You know, high population there. But both of them had ransomware attacks this past week, right? So I think it was the 8th. I think it was Wednesday the 8th. Is that right? Yeah, right. I think that's the date because it says Wednesday in the article.
Yes,
but yeah, Wednesday the 8th. So it made them go back to what they call old school policing, right? So they were using handheld radios, pens, and paper during patrols. Which here's the thing, right? Here's what I always think about is that there was a time where we did this, right? But society has evolved to the point whether it be technology that we have or population even to where we're in the digital age and it's kind of necessary now, right? Which is why it makes attacks like this so dangerous, really, to say, right? So but yeah, so the government officials posted a statement on their website saying because there was rumors on social media about certain city services not working, so people were getting out there saying I can't do this, I can't do this, but yeah, they actually confirmed it. So it happened Wednesday. They confirmed it on Friday. But what they put out there was that their core functions, so like you could still call 911 and everything would be good. But when it came to communication to law enforcement or emergency personnel, that's kind of where they had a problem. And honestly, like according to this article, it looks like it was done as a precaution, though, right? So like they kind of cut some limbs off to make sure they could go in, do what they need to do, look through and make sure they weren't nothing was getting in too far into the system, right? Which is kind of a good thing, right? So they were like, hey, we see we got a problem here. Let's cut off here. Let's investigate, make sure all is good, clean it out if we need to, and then get back to doing what we need to do, which is good on them again, right? But this is one of those things where here's the thing. I'm pretty sure they teach them how to use the handheld radios and all that stuff, right? Instead of using the laptops and doing all that. But it's like Morse code in the military now, right? Like not a lot of people use it anymore, right? Because we have the technology, but they still teach it. But yeah, so yeah, two cities, like I said, Oakland and Modesto, that had the issue where they were under attack and they started experiencing limited connectivity to some of their systems, right? But they did reassure people like, hey, the ability to answer 911 is fully operational. You can still call in. But yeah, like I said, when it came to coordination with the actual law enforcement or medical personnel themselves, that's where it was a little bit tricky. That's where it was different. So but the cities are an hour and a half apart, right? So it's not even like it was 2 cities like way far apart. Like it was 2 cities that were close to each other. But yeah, so what's your thoughts on this, Ryan? Like going back to the olden days, you know what I mean?
Right. Out there like sending SOSs with flashlights. But so even though it doesn't feel like it actually is a feel-good story, right? Like the system worked. Their continuity business plan, their disaster recovery plan, like this all fits within those parameters, right? Like they kept their core functions, like you said, the 911, the financial data, and the fire and emergency stayed up. and then everything that was not, I guess, life threatening was turned off until they can investigate the activity. So it may not have been ransomware. Like, it could have just been the threat of, or the suspicion of, right? Like either a analyst saw something that was weird, or an IPS or IDS detected, the signature just wasn't right, and then they began to shut down external like limbs of the bigger body. So good on them. That does suck though, right? So it shows even when you do have a plan and enact that plan, it can be inconvenient. So even though they had to do this in order to hopefully starve off an attack, it caused delays and impacted people. Hopefully no one was sick or injured because of it, but it sounds like they were good to go, right? Like they were exercised the plan, and the plan worked. So it's good, but then it's also like, man, like we have to build defenses even wider out, right? Like now we have to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or that it's not as severe, or that we have mechanisms to bring stuff up in a warm or a hot site or something like that, to keep the things moving without what am I trying to say? Like, because they're not customers per se. These people are like, to make sure that potential victims, I guess.
Yeah, potential victims, exactly.
Yeah, there you go. I don't want to say victims, but yeah, potential victims. It's seamless, right? Like, they don't know that anything's happened. They can be responded to quickly in all regards. So it's kind of it's good, but it just doesn't feel good. So but good on them for building such defenses and having the wherewithal to get through it. So to my knowledge, I don't think it's been updated, so we don't know if it's come back up yet in its entirety, but they have not been further impacted, right? So they still have the radio system, they still have everything they need in order to serve and protect, or to rescue people if the need should arise. This would be the perfect storm if this were to occur during a disaster, right? Then it makes it even harder to do what they do. But I'm sure they have a pace plan, right? They have the ability to work around it to make sure they're not too badly impacted, and then they can continue to do their jobs. So I say all that to say, good on them.
Now, this could have been way worse if it was a couple of weeks ago when they were having all that flooding out there in California,
right?
When the weather was getting bad and they were having mudslides and all that stuff. Like, when emergency services would have really been needed, it could have been a lot worse. And this could be a blessing in disguise. I hate to say it like that. Hopefully, there was no loss of life or anything that comes out of this, right? Because someone couldn't get the response was not fast enough for someone.
Right.
But this could be one of those instances where it's like, okay, well, we didn't think about this. We thought we had this covered and we didn't. So now we need to think about this, put this in the budget, right? Like, this is going to be something
right
forward. So
yeah, just to make the system even that more robust. I can't speak this morning. I'm getting the caffeine in me slowly. But I'm going through some caffeine withdrawals over here. But no, again, good on them. Hopefully in the future they do have a better way of handling this. However, they didn't do a bad job, so don't want to take that away from them either. And just think, maybe 10-15 years ago, they would have no ability to recover as quickly as they did, just because it wasn't thought of. Or like, even though we complain about the ransomware on a weekly basis on this podcast, how it just keeps ramping up, if anything, we're getting reps out of it, right? We're getting better at detecting it and being able to resolve those issues. So I'm not saying it's a good thing that it exists, but we had lots of practice. So people shouldn't be out there necessarily lacking in their recovery response when it comes to issues like this. So if anything, this shows that they thought about it, they invested the money, they had the right people, and they made the right decision to move forward the way they did. So again, good on them. But that pretty much wraps this episode. So definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Again, happy Valentine's Day if you're listening to this on Tuesday. Monday and Tuesday are topics. Wednesday's discussion. So tomorrow's discussion will be pretty good. So definitely tune in for that. And then Friday's everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. So definitely tune in for that. You can hit us up at all of our social medias. They go by our name. You can hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. I'm on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, and Twitter. Stay safe, stay secure.